The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Micro USB cables, 9. RAM sticks, 8. Fan accessories, 7. Molex cables and adapters, etc. 6. Clips Pro Media 4.1 cables, 5. Clips Pro Media 5.1 control box, 4. AV switch boxes, 3. Mice, 2. Musical instrument accessories, 1. It's over! It's over! It's all over!
Epic fail.
Rather somber feeling in the Geek House as we get ready to make the next Great Sift trip. I wasn't really able to fill the tote up very much this time, but we're going to kind of sort of cheat a bit by putting some big items in here to round everything off and make the trip worthwhile and free up some more space in here. Question is, which large items do I want to say goodbye to? There's a couple of things that I'm giving one last chance to, so to speak. But there's other stuff, well, it's going to go. Its time has arrived. I'm not a fan of e-waste. I really hate getting rid of stuff that still works, because this stuff doesn't belong in landfills or even wasting energy. Well, not even wasting energy, but remember, folks, it takes energy in order to recycle something. You gotta have electricity powering the plant, you gotta burn fuel on the recycling trucks. Recycling's not as green as its proponents make it look, but I would much rather have this stuff getting shredded in a reprocessing plant than rotting in some landfill somewhere. So, recycling center it is. Just what do we want to add to this tote to finish filling it up? Exhibit A is my Samsung SyncMaster 793DF tube monitor, 17-inch. It's a flat screen. It's a flat screen as well. Basically what happens is there's a piece of concave glass pushing up against the tube. This is my final tube monitor, and it's in very good working order. The problem is that time has marched on from this thing. Time has marched on. I mean, I don't know if I could even donate this to a non-profit anymore because this thing uses 100 watts when it's fully on. Versus today, I mean, the monitor I bought 10 years ago that's in pieces right there capped out at 30-something watts. So I don't even think you can donate these things because the non-profits who are surviving on shoestrings and donations will know that this is going to increase their overhead costs as opposed to just getting a donation of a flat screen, of which there's plenty of flat screens out there. It's just sad, really. My dad has one of these too. He has the 19-inch version sitting on a shelf collecting dust. The thing is, though, because this thing still works, I want to give it the benefit of the doubt and use it with the project area if I'm running a computer or something like that, even though it does create flicker vision and roller vision because it's a tube. But that's the sad part about all this, is that, you know, when I first got this monitor, after the monitor that got me through college went out with a bang in summer of 2004, when I first got this monitor, I was looking at it from straight on, and my dad thought that I'd bought a flat screen as he couldn't see the rest of the tube. So it's a decent monitor, and it still works, and that's the annoying part about all of this, is I don't want to get rid of something that still works. It's not even widescreen, but I don't know when this thing's going to quit, but I just feel like I should use it until it quits in the project area, even though it is clunky and cumbersome. I just got to find a way to change up the setting, the setup over here, so that I can leave this thing hooked up all the time and not keep taking it down when I need more space for a computer or something. But giving everything its own home, I think is going to do a lot for that. I think giving everything its own home will do a lot to fix this, as well as maybe rearranging how that lamp is all set up and everything. But, so no, this will not be going to the crusher today. I'm just going to keep running it until it quits. Plus, as my last tube monitor ever, if by chance I ever want to remember what degaussing the screen was like back in the good old days, well, this thing has a degauss button, but it's pretty sad that time has marched on. I mean, I got this thing in 2004 and then replaced it with a flat screen in 2006. So it barely had any time to really get any wear and tear. I mean, Tico 03, this thing is totally pre-recession and everything. Don't really know what to do with this thing, except run it into the ground. Well, we'll wait until creeping decrepitude catches up to it. Let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen, the oldest and ugliest desktop computer that I have here. An HP Pavilion 6460, and it has not aged well. Ooh, look at all that yellowing. It's almost as yellow as an Apple IIe. Oh, brother. This is not the computer that didn't get me through college. It's actually older. The story behind this computer is actually, well, it's not that complicated, but basically the last sitter that I ever had when I was growing up was one of my dad's co-workers. She was into computer games, and she had a son at the time who was a baby when I was there being watched, who learned how to say yes from her playing Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, on her DOS machine at the time, and all the Alliance footmen went around saying, "Yes, my lord, yes, my lord," and that's how her baby son, then baby son, learned how to say yes. So this was her computer until she upgraded. My dad picked this up cheap from her as a backup system. This is the backup to the Dellosaurus. That's what we're talking about in terms of age here. If this didn't look so awful, I'd consider making a joke system out of it. I would consider making a joke system out of it by putting some newer hardware in it, but it's just crudded like crazy. What was that? Was that the multimeter? Let me go see what that beep was before we break something. Mechanical chain reaction. This computer pulled on the cord of that power strip, which pressed down on the continuity button on the multimeter. It's almost like a makeshift impromptu Rube Goldberg mess. Oh, I do still have the RAM for this thing lurking over here. SD RAM, of course. I think it only had 64. Did it? Did it even have 128 megs of RAM? Yes, this is the final SD RAM anything that I have. What's this lurking in the back over here? So I know I was using this to store spare parts. Nope, that looks roughly about as old as... So at some point she upgraded the RAM. At some point she upgraded the... No, that can't be possible because there's only 2 RAM slots. No idea, but as you can see, ribbon cables, there's the Celeron processor, 400 megahertz. Doesn't even have anything covering it up like the AMD one does, so it's not really a good conversation piece. Look at this, is that a 60 millimeter? It might even be a 40 millimeter fan that's doing the cooling for this pathetic piece of crap. But nothing is serial ATA, everything is dirty, and everything is horrible. And basically, I could theoretically clean all this out and find a way to squeeze something really small in here to make a ha-ha, look at my old-looking system that's not so old. But I think the Dellosaurus would be far better at this sort of thing, because the Dellosaurus has aged very, very gracefully. It hasn't yellowed all the heck like this thing has. And that's the thing. You could say that this is the horrid-looking system. Nobody would expect this to be any good, and they'd be a lot more surprised by this thing having joke hardware in it than the Dellosaurus. But where's the star power among these old computers? That's right! The Dellosaurus has the star power here. Plus, in terms of concentrated coolness, how many joke systems do I really want to make where I do that thing where, you put new hardware inside a horrid old-looking case? If I really wanted to make something based on something from this generation, I could snag a broken computer off of eBay and start getting to work. But there's no serial ATA in here, so therefore I'm not really interested in... Well, it's years before serial ATA. This thing was made for Windows 98. Look, see? One of my older friends in college had one of these things as his college computer until he graduated. So, between the griminess and how awful this looks, as well as I'm not really too fond of this case design either versus what I could put in here from something newer. This thing is going to go to the recycling place. It would be fun to make a joke system in here, but if I ever want to make a joke system in something other than the Dellosaurus, eBay is my friend. There's only one joke system that I want to really that would actually be interesting if I pulled that off, and that is this guy right here, which hasn't yellowed in 15 plus years. No idea how Dell pulled that off, but yes, this HP is going in the tote. Now, our last exhibit, and the one I will spend the most time on, which will balance out this WWMJ, is the oldest computer that I have here. Older, much older than the Dellosaurus. Those of you who know your computers already know what it is. For those of you who have never seen one of these before, I'll be very happy to give you a nice guided tour here. So, most of you folks who are watching this, you're probably not too young to remember the netbook fad, where someone took a laptop and they stripped out a lot of the features and made a version of the laptop with crappier processors and a smaller screen that could run primarily off of wireless networks and not need as many drives and stuff. One of the side effects of that was great battery life. I have one of those netbooks, an Acer piece of junk that's too slow for most of what I throw at it. Well, the netbook fad was not the only time that a smaller laptop form factor was attempted. Here is the 1990s answer to the netbooks. I was originally going to do a video where I was like, well, back in the late 2000s, where I was like, well, after seeing all these commercials and blah 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 and all this fad stuff going on, check it out folks, I finally got a netbook. This is not a netbook though. This is what was called a subcompact notebook. It is, because of this, there's nothing I can really do with it except turn it on, goof around in DOS. Yes, it's a Windows 3.1 era machine. I can't really do much except turn it on, goof around in DOS, and then turn it off. And even then, the power switch, supposedly, alleged power switch, only will put the thing in sleep mode. It won't actually turn it off. So I have to hard switch it with a power strip or unplug it or something. No worries if I unplug it. The nickel metal hydride battery from the early 90s is long past the years when it would actually do something besides sit there. Look at this. Compact Computer Corporation, product of Singapore. Modem label. You don't see those anymore. Contains nickel metal hydride battery. Must be disposed of properly. Nickel metal hydride is the same chemistry as today's rechargeable AA's. Even the Rayovac IC3s that I goofed around with back in the mid-2000s when I was first getting going on here, and I've got a product review of those essentially that was in the classic series on Dailymotion. That's where nickel metal hydride is found these days. Today, of course, ever since the mid-90s and whatnot, there have been lithium-ion batteries in laptops. Going back to NIM means we're going way back. Way, way back. So, unfortunately, the hinge on this thing is coming off on one side, so we have to be very careful to not finish breaking it. But here is why I can't do anything with this computer right here. You have power, you have a printer port, you have a proprietary port for the docking station that this thing used to plug into, and you have a serial port. There is nothing, not even a disk drive on this thing. That might be for PC cards and stuff, but it's... Alright, let's put the power back in. Power's still off, so it's not going to start up or anything, just as of yet. Ready for the most outdated yellowed keyboard you've ever seen? Look at this. Ooh. Mega flappy hinge because the hinge is half dead. That's a monochrome screen, by the way. I don't even know if I'll be able to get the right contrast so you can actually see what's going on the screen. There is a contrast adjustment, though, with the F keys, but look at how yellowed that keyboard is from 20 plus years. Oh, and by the way, if I change camera hands here, trackball. And how do you click? There's buttons on the side, so it's meant to be like this. And that's your power switch, but I think that just puts it to sleep instead. And these keys are gummy as all heck. Now the interesting thing is, I know it's a 90s computer because it has the 90s numbering scheme. Contura Aero 425. Now, when you saw computers with this back in the 90s, it referred to the RAM and the processor speed in megahertz. So this thing most likely had 4 megs of RAM and a 25 megahertz processor. Pre-Pentium, baby, I think. So how did I happen to get this thing? We'll get into that. First, let's apply some power. You can listen to the really, really loud hard drive, which miraculously still works all these years later. Alright, for some reason, just applying power turns it on. Listen to that. Remember when all computers would be that loud? Of course, if you had a clacky mechanical keyboard, how am I? Oh, there. Yeah, we're gonna have to really mess with this. Beep, beep, beep. Oh no, it lost power. The BIOS has been reset, and the screen whites out. Well, creamed spinach Game Boy monochrome. Well, it's not green, but beep, 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 beep. And you thought the Dellosaurus was bizarre. Beep, bada, beep, beep. There you go. See, 4096 kilobytes. Okay, starting MS-DOS. This thing has 4 megs of RAM. Hyman assessing extended memory. Come on, say done. Listen to that hard drive. And the interesting part is, this doesn't boot into Windows. The auto-exec bat just sits at the DOS prompt. Oh man. Anyone got a Nirvana CD we can start playing? Or Alice in Chains, I'd rather listen to that. And look, C. So, of course we can type Win and go into Windows 3.1 for work groups. The Compact Edition. Oh, I gotta play with this display. Hold on a second. Function and... Now the interesting thing... trying to mess with this thing here. The interesting thing with the brightness and contrast is that it's one of those things where it... Wait a minute. No, you're supposed to... Ah, that's how it works. You bring up the thing on the corner of the screen, and then you move the arrow keys to go up and down. Oh, look at this. Oh, cool, we can actually see the screen now, as worn out and as horrible as it is. Function, F10. Let's just jack everything all the way up, so we can actually get something on camera here. Ooh, Program Manager, check it out. Now the contrast you can turn up and down, but it's kind of like adjusting the contrast on a Game Boy. Monochrome screens, weren't they grand? P-Touch PC, ooh, a label maker. TabWorks, Startup, Compact Utilities, WinLink, Microsoft Works for Windows. Some would call that an oxymoron. DOS prompt, Windows 3.1, blah blah blah. It's amazing that this hard drive hasn't seized up by now. So, how on earth... So at this point I probably could take P-Touch PC off, because you can't do anything with this thing. Except turn it on, mess with it, and turn it off. So it's, there's no way to put data on it, take data off of it. It is what it is until the drive seizes up. And the drive is half dead, by the way, so let me go to a DOS prompt and we'll talk about how exactly this will end your Windows session. See, I was using Macintoshes back in the Win 3.1 days, so I was looking for a shutdown prompt, and so I didn't know you could just turn the machine off when it got back to the DOS prompt. Not like that helps you anyways, because beep does absolutely nothing. Oh, there it goes. Now you think it's off, right? Well, you would be wrong. Look, blinky blinky. You don't get a boot screen, it just comes right back up, and the drive makes some more weird noises. Yeah, that's a sleep button. I don't know if there's any way of getting that to function like a proper power button like today's machines would. So how exactly... Well, let's run ScanDisk. Well, first of all, proof that we're so old here. Check disk, not gonna work, right? CFR. Okay, ready? Check disk, CFR. Invalid switch. Let's try check disk CF. Instead of using check disk F, try ScanDisk. ScanDisk can reliably detect and fix a much wider range of disk problems. For more information, type help ScanDisk. Well, here's the problem. If you run ScanDisk on this thing, it gets stuck when it gets to the bad sectors on the hard drive. So we might as well mess with checkdisk and see if that gets stuck too. But I've never been able to actually clean up the drives on this thing. So we'll let it do its thing. Oh, look. Let's see here. Oh, look, it just checked it. It didn't actually use the F flag to fix the bad sector. But see that? 2,048 bytes in bad sectors. If I try doing ScanDisk, it's going to get to the bad stuff and it's going to stop. I tried this years ago when I first got it, so I can't imagine it's any better. So how on earth did I happen to come across an antique like this? Well, it's kind of comical, actually. Years ago... So, file structure, okay, surface scan. This is where it's going to mess up. Yes, let's do a surface scan so we can watch it start clanking when it gets to the bad stuff. So here's how I managed to get one of these things. So I was tasked many years ago at the 9 to 5 before the layoffs at cleaning out the software cabinet that, much like how I'm rearranging this so everything has a home and that home is labeled and it's not just a dumping ground like the old parts bin was, much like what I'm doing here. The software cabinet in the server room at my old stomping grounds had become a dumping ground for everything. Vendor software, old equipment, spare parts for warehouse printers that we had no idea if they were good or not. It was a disaster. It's one of the biggest reasons why I prefer clear stuff for things like this, because if you can close a door and hide the mess, it becomes like an avalanche closet where if you can get the door to close, it doesn't matter how horrible it is inside. Out of sight, out of mind. Especially when the boss stops by. Oh yeah, you're keeping this place clean. And then, no, don't open that cabinet! Yeah, one of those things. So, as you can imagine, considering you needed security clearance to buzz into the server room in the first place, to get to the software cabinet was doubly hidden and under the, behind the scenes. So you can imagine what kind of a dumping ground that was. So I was digging through, look, old software, hey, what do you know, this thing. I took a picture of it and I sent it to our local IS tech who did PC support and stuff. Now at the time, we had just gotten done saying, hey, can you get us some used laptops from other sites? We don't have anything in the budget to purchase any new ones, but if anybody wants to get rid of some old junk, we'll make it work again. So I sent an email to him. I said, look, I know that we said we wouldn't mind secondhand stuff and getting it going again, but this takes the cake. He got a kick out of it, as you can imagine. Of course, we were using Windows 90, not even 98. I think we retired it by then. We were using XP for everything, so finding an old Windows 3.1 machine, there isn't even an asset tag on this thing. So this is from before we even had asset tags. Needless to say, the one thing that would have happened to this system is it would have gotten recycled. So I asked the IS person and the management of the building, I'm like, this would be really fun to mess around with and make YouTube videos about. Mind if I just take it off your hands take off all the company specific data, take it off your hands, and, oh, there it goes. There it is right there. Take it off your hands and it'll be one less thing you have to pay to get hauled away. We have a better recycling setup these days. Oh, wait, here it is. There's what I'm talking about right there. ScanDisk encountered a data error while error? Park the car in our yard. Shoulder, chowder. ScanDisk encountered a data error while reading root directory entry number 0. This error prevents ScanDisk from fixing this drive. And therein lies the ticking time bomb of this computer. There are still errors on drive C. You don't say. Write fault error, reading drive C, invalid command.com. Cannot load command, system halted. But if I cut the power, boink! 7, 8, 9, 10-second roll. So there's really not much. Listen to that drive! So there's really not much that I can really do with this thing, or anybody can really do with this thing, except throw it out. This one, however, beep beep. This one, however, since I know the V Westlife crowd and other folks mess around with computers this old, this can be my one entry into computers of this age until the drive finishes dying. It already has bad sectors that are unfixable. I can't hook a drive up to this thing without maybe picking up an old docking station for it on eBay, if there even still is one 20 plus years later. So there's not much I can do with this thing except mess around with it until it quits. So in terms of the Great Sift, here's how this is going to work. The fate of this Contura is in your hands, folks. The fate of this Contura is in your hands. It's old Windows 3.1 era, and you pick what happens to it. It will not be going to the recycling place today. But what it will do is, well, it doesn't take up a lot of space anyways. bad commander file name. Echo off. CLS.
Oh, my computer's stuck. Look, see, it won't stop loading.
Okay, so we'll get rid of the old HP. This thing fortunately does not take up a lot of space, but there's really nothing I can do with it. Unless I were to dig up a docking station, which may give it a CD-ROM. We're still talking Windows 3.1 here, so plug and play was more like plug and pray. So this thing has been slowly dying for years and years and years and years. If you would like to suggest ways of finishing it off, go right ahead. Understand, though, that today's trip is not the trip where the Delosaurus will be decommissioned. I still can go to the recycling place in that dead week that I'll have off between Christmas and New Year's, so there'll be at least one trip then. This is just the early trip to free up some space in advance. But yeah. Cha-ching! Decide the fate of this computer amongst yourselves. For now, though, I'll keep it around just because it's funny. Oh, 90s computer. It's also a marvel that the hard drive in this thing still works. You know how many hard drives I've seen clank out 2 years, 3 years after I get them? Sometimes right after the warranty expires. This thing's got 20 plus years on it. It's loud and clunky and it has bad sectors, but it still works. Weird. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.